Today's episode of the Just Keep Swimming podcast is brought to you by Audible. Audible is an online audiobook and podcast service offering over 10,000 books and the ability to listen to your favorite podcasts, including the Just Keep Swimming podcast. I personally use Audible all the time and suggest you take a listen to Intentional Living by John C. Maxwell. In this book, Mr. Maxwell shares his story on how he was able to live a noble and purposeful life and gives you tips and tricks so you can do the same. So please start your 30-day free trial now at www.audibletrial.com/JKS podcast, all lowercase. Again, that is www.audibletrial.com/JKS podcast. And if you have any more questions or concerns for the Just Keep Swimming podcast, you're always welcome to reach out to us on Facebook or at Instagram at justkeepswimming_podcast, or you can email us at jkspodcast702@gmail.com. And with that out the way, let's dive into it. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to the Just Keep Swimming podcast. This is your friend, your boy, your host, Mr. Adrian Jackson, and we back at it again with another great episode for you. And you already know who's with me. It's the man, the myth, the legend. It's Mr.
Captain Capper,
a.k.a.
Toi.
Okay, I like it. How we feeling today, bro?
We feeling all right. Yeah,
yes, sir.
It's weird being back at work after 5 days of nothing.
Right.
I took vacation, but no, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm just ready to close out the week and just relax. So,
Right.
And then, playing the games with the homies tomorrow night because homie Fernando, shout outs. He just started getting into rivals and enjoying and getting better. So I'm ready to give him another 50-0 so he can train,
Right. Nah, I feel that one, bro. I feel that one. How was your vacay? Cool?
Yeah, no, it was cool. Much needed relaxation for sure. So, yeah.
Love it, bro. Love it, man. Yeah, no, you look refreshed, so glad to have you back for
Thank
sure.
you. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Always good, man.
How you be?
I'm good, bro. I'm good. Just looking forward for the show we have coming up. You haven't seen a flyer yet. We have the Just Keep Swimming Live Campfire Halloween special.
Yes, sir.
On October 27th. 100% live, 100% crowd participation is going to be appreciated and recommended. If anything, you have the opportunity to win some crystals and some other amazing prizes in the raffle, have the opportunity to buy some shirts. So please come and check it out. Come join us. Come be a part of the podcast for once. Definitely if you've always been listening but haven't been a part of the podcast and you're in Vegas, come check us out.
Got to.
Or if you got us on IG, check us out. It's going to be on IG Live. We're going to make it so the people on IG can participate as well. So we don't want nobody to get messed out. We want all the audience to be able to join us and have some fun with the podcast as well.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so it should be fun. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so let's now jump into the fun part for the day. We have a very special guest with us, actually brought to us by Mr. Tease Mac, Mr. Trivion McKenzie himself. He recommended this guy highly, so we had to bring him on the show. So bring it to the microphone. Triv likes to call him Mr. JVT, but I'm going to call him John. John, how we doing today, brother?
I'm good. I'm excited to be here. I like talking, so it's going to be fun to chat up with you guys.
No, exactly. No, I'm so glad you got to join us, bro. And then I think I'm more excited to interview you because I feel like you're about 3 steps ahead of where I want to be soon, doing the broadcasting and everything like that. So I kind of just want to talk a little bit about your journey being a broadcaster and what it takes to do something like that.
Yeah. It's kind of a typical one for the most part, right? I got out of school in high school and didn't know what I really wanted to do. I started coaching youth football right out of high school. I thought I wanted to be a teacher and then like a head coach kind of thing,
Right.
And I liked it. I liked working with the kids. It was cool. We won a little NYS championship.
Hey.
It was really cool.
What team? What was the team?
We were the Henderson Colts.
Okay.
And I was our defensive coordinator, so it was cool. We started with 8-man football, then we graduated up to 11. So
that's tight.
And so I went down that path, and actually when I went to school, when I finally kind of got out of high school, figured out what I wanted to do. I started out as an education major, and then I hated it. Like, I was sitting. I remember I had to take one of the classes you had to observe, a high school class. And I remember sitting in the back and observing, just being like, I didn't really like high school a ton, and here I am, and I don't want this to kind of be my life. But I knew I kind of wanted to work in sports in some form or fashion. So that eventually became like, hey, I talk a lot. I like to make jokes. I like to conversate. Like, what about broadcasting? And so I decided to start taking classes. Classes led to an internship. Internship led to a job. And then a job led to, I've been in the career field now for about 10 years or so.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's been kind of a natural progression. I've been lucky to meet some nice people along the way that have kind of spoken up for me and believed in me. But it's kind of how it got started. It started with one thing and it spun off into another.
And it just kept flowing with it. You kept rolling with the flow.
Yep. Yeah.
I love it.
It felt right. It felt like as I was kind of going along, like, hey, I'm kind of good at this. Like, it feels like right, feels comfortable. So it ultimately led me here. And I like radio a lot. When I was a kid and in high school, when you get your car, I listened to a lot of sports talk radio, call into shows every once in a while. So it eventually became something I really wanted to do.
I love how you said the idea of it felt right. Yeah. And it's like you start connecting it back to your past, because I kind of feel the same way. So we used to get grounded a lot. We used to always be grounded. And what we used to do is, don't age me, we used to take the blank tapes and we used to... you take a blank tape, and if the radio is playing, you can hit record on the tape, and we'll start making our own little mixtapes off the radio and stuff like that, because that's all we could do. Yeah. So I kind of love that aspect for some reason. Like, even though I was grounded in trouble, it just always stuck with me, and I kind of feel that's why I kind of always want to get to that voice, the voice behind the microphone. Yeah. So I do love that. So I just want to kind of talk about something you just kind of mentioned, though. It felt right. So what about school didn't feel right, but then made broadcasting did feel right?
So I think when it came to school, obviously, like the normal prereq stuff, like English and all those sort of things, didn't really enjoy. But what I really started to enjoy was when I got into some of the majors classes, journalism classes.
Yeah.
And specifically, one of the classes that really kind of woke me up in terms of wanting to do something with broadcasting was a communications class. You stand up in front, you make speeches, and you do all sorts of these things. And it kind of came easy because you could pick any topic you want.
Yes.
So I was picking a lot of sports topics and talking about sports, and it was one of the easiest days I'll ever get because it's literally just all you got to do is have like 6 speeches about something you like.
And if you're confident with it, it's easy.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
So that really kind of came across, and I had two. It really does help to have people in your life that either are a part of it, right, that impact you positively, or that kind of come in and impact it positively and leave. And in that communications class, I still remember her name, Professor Ford. She pulled me aside after one class. She goes, you've got a real knack for this. You should kind of keep doing this.
Oh wow!
And it was a thought that I already had, and it kind of made me feel a little bit better about like, hey, maybe I'm doing kind of the right thing here. Maybe I'm going to have a future in doing this. And I had another journalism class, and another professor who spoke to me told me the same thing. It was like, hey, it seems that you're probably going to have a pretty bright future here. Don't stop going to school and start working because there's a chance that you're going to take off and not really come back to this. Right. And actually, that did happen. I stopped going to school. I started working in journalism and broadcasting. But that's what really kind of helped me along outside of like the normal forces, right? Girlfriend, parent, speaking positives to you and everything.
Right.
But when you get people in the career field or in the profession or people who are teaching you along the way, telling you, no, we see something in you, keep it up. It felt really nice to kind of keep going along on that path, and that's what really kind of spurred me forward.
Yeah, no, it's like that. It's a crazy type of motivation. It's like your mom can tell you all the time, do this, do that, do this, and it's because it's your mom. It's right. Like, yeah, I know, mom, but it's your mom. But then when you hear it come from somebody else's mouth, it hits a little more powerful because there's somebody that you're not close to, outside looking in, somebody observing you, and they're like, I think you should do this. And you're like, damn, my mom always been saying that, but with you saying that, it really sticks a little differently.
It's that unbiased acknowledgement that really gets you and like motivates you to push you further,
Yeah, it's kind of weird too, right? Because the person you love, like, yeah, of course, like I tell my wife all the time, like, you're supposed to tell me that you're my wife. But it's weird, like we should take that more because it's somebody that you're close to, that you love. Right. But it's weird the impact that an outside force on somebody like that can have on you. Yeah. And at least in terms of positive thinking and negative too, but mostly positive. Like if you get positive reinforcement from a source that you didn't really expect, it does help out a lot.
Yeah. Definitely was a source that you respect.
respect.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's a source that you look up to, and you're not realizing that they're seeing you as well. And you're like, oh wow, you see me doing good? I'm trying to be like you, and you see me doing good.
Yeah.
I must be doing it on the right path. You know, it feels more powerful.
Yep, absolutely.
I love that, man. So I know you say you do broadcasting and sports. What major sports do you focus on?
So I have a bunch of different jobs in media. My main job is I work for a sports betting network. It's the Vegas Stats and Information Network. I'm our NBA betting analyst. That is like my title.
Okay.
So I'm a writer first and foremost. I write daily articles when the season starts. I'm in charge of what we call our NBA guide. So it's like a preseason preview. It's about a 50-page booklet that actually started about 3-4 years ago. That we write every single year. I write that every year. And I also host. I have a podcast, an NBA podcast. Heart Handicappers. Yeah, if you want to check it out. That we do, as well as doing little like interviews and hits on the network. So, I'm our NBA guy, so I get scheduled throughout the week. They'll have me on the shows, talk about the NBA. And as part of my duties there too, I'm also our weekend host to do college football. I do college football analysis. We have a college football show on Saturdays and college football show on Sundays that I'm the host of, and that's over at VSiN. And I do a lot of different other things. I write for our website. I'm one of our main writers. I have a NFL article that I do as well every single week, college football article that I do every single week. So I do span a lot of different sports for our network, but my main focus would be the NBA. And as an aside too, I've been lucky enough, I do some stuff with the NBA itself.
Oh, that's
I do, League Pass. I don't know if you guys know about League Pass, where it's, you subscribe and you watch. They have different feeds. They have a betting feed that I'm a part of regularly as well. And that's my main job. So that's what I do. That's my, and it's weird hours, but it's like my Monday through Friday essentially. I work every day, but that's it. And then part-time, I'm a host here locally for ESPN Las Vegas. And that's where I had my first job. That's where I got an internship, and that's where I worked my way up, and that's where I first started working. So I'm a co-host on our afternoon drive show. It's on 3 to 6, and that's like talk radio, So today we were down at Resorts World. It's Mountain West and West Coast Conference Media Days for college basketball. So go record interviews with coaches, meet with players, things like that. Those are my two main sources, or my two main jobs: ESPN Las Vegas, and then the Vegas Stats and Information Network.
That's crazy. So it's like you do a lot. Like you juggle a lot of hats at one time.
Yeah, it gets a little hectic. It's funny. I get kind of forgetful because I got so much going on. So there's times where I'll forget to do things. My wife hates it because a lot of the times, mostly it's like some family stuff, right? Like I'll forget to do something for her, or something like that. But no, it is. It's a nice thing to be busy. It's a nice thing to work and to do those things, especially doing what you enjoy. But I would be lying if I said it wasn't stressful as times when you have so many responsibilities to do it. But but yeah, it's pretty busy. But I like the busyness of it.
I was gonna say, I know you mentioned it gets overwhelmed sometimes, and I feel, especially for me, just because I end up doing a lot too. And as we're getting more involved with the podcast and it's starting to take off a bit, how do you move past those overwhelming, stressful situations, especially since you have a whole family as well? So
I'm big on kind of taking a step back, just pausing, right, and just kind of holding on for a second and just kind of prioritizing things. If I have one of my little things that I like to do is, so I'm a big, when I work, I like those lo-fi hip hop channels.
Oh yeah.
So if there's a moment where if I feel like I'm kind of getting overwhelmed, I'll just, let's just shut down. Let's shut off for 5 minutes. Not even just 5 minutes. Put the headphones in, just chill. Prioritize, do whatever. And I'm big on kind of resetting. I'm a video game guy. So what happens when you lose or whatever? Hey, just reset it. Just reset.
Reset. Take back.
Because as I tell my wife a lot of the times too, when she's getting stressed out, what I have to do is always going to be there. But what you can change is how you approach it. So let's just chill out for a second. Don't approach it overwhelmed, and kind of just relax from there. So that's what I like to do. I like to throw in some lo-fi hip hop and just sit for 5 minutes in my office and just all right, take a deep breath and let's see what you got to do, and then attack it in the priority. And it's worked out so far.
Right. That's good.
That's beautiful. I love how you say that. What needs to be done will always be there, but what can change is how you approach it.
Yeah.
I think that's beautiful right there, and that's just a perfect line for a perspective.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It matters how you look at the problem, determines the size of the problem.
And it's interesting because while you're doing the work, as it's when you're stuck in the work, you're in a tunnel vision.
Yep.
So when you take that step back, it's it opens that field of vision, so you can see everything everything. Like, oh, okay, well, let me approach it from the back side real quick.
Yep.
Knock out a couple things, and then now I can come back from the front side, and it's not so overwhelming.
Yes.
Yeah.
And one of my big flaws is I'm a procrastinator too. So, so I've got some experience on like, all right, let's relax for a second. Let's get this. Let's approach this from different ways so you can get it done. It's one of my big flaws. Yeah.
Nah, I truly understand that one. I love it. I'm a procrastinator my damn self.
Yeah.
I procrastinated all the way through college. I don't know how I made it through, honestly, but sometimes that procrastination gives that little fire to go a little farther. You know?
I was gonna say, I feel like even though procrastination is sort of like an objectively a negative trait, like you can kind of flip it into saying like, hey, I work well under pressure though.
Exactly.
You are under that pressure when it's like unavoidable. You know that you can perform well.
Yeah.
Because I went to Clark for high school, and I did the AMSAT program, which is like a rigorous magnet program for math and science, and there was always hella homework. But me and Fernando always joke around and say, hey, we were the Clark clutchers though. We'll wait until literally the last night and do everything and come out with like a B or an A.
Yep.
And it's like, hey, at least I got that, you know?
Yeah, well, I've been there. There's been I remember I had one year I had a history paper due, and I had, sometimes like you have your laptop, but like my laptop was one of those where it had to be plugged in. If you got it unplugged, the battery was so old that it would die within 2 seconds. And I procrastinated for a paper, and I was like, let me knock it out tonight. I'm gonna get it done. Wrote like 6 pages, and then I knocked the plug out, and I had never saved it. Yeah, so it shut down, and that was the one time where I was like, I should probably not procrastinate
no more. That's what I did. I had one where I was up all night typing my paper, and then my laptop, it was good, but then I picked my laptop up, my foot was on the cord. So when I stood up, it snatched it out of my hand, and they landed right on top of the cord, the power cord. Yeah. And then now time is ticking. You got 30 minutes before your laptop died to get all your schoolwork off into a flash drive. Yep. So I had to hurry up, do that, and then rush to school to finish my paper. And it was like, oh my gosh, I hate it. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, I had to call out to work the next day so I could go to the library and finish it.
I truly understand that. So Triv gave me a question that he wanted me to ask you. He says that, you like you just said, you're the leader of the sports betting, or what's the proper term? Sorry.
My title at work?
Yeah.
What's my title? NBA betting analyst or senior NBA.
Senior analyst. There you go. So he said that you create up your own betting method.
Maybe he's referring to. So with this year, one of the things. What I like to do is, I like to approach my job as, obviously we're in content creation, so I like to think of different ways to create content, maybe unique ways. And I think what Triv might be referring to is, this year, one of the things that I wanted to try to do was, in the sports betting space, which we primarily cover, a lot of guys are really big on like models, right? Statistical models. I punch in a team and another team, and it gives me a side and a total. Yeah, right. Exactly. And it was something that's always been pretty foreign to me. So this summer I was like, you know what would be fun for the website? Let's have a journal. I'm going to create a model, and let's have a journal that follows that and creates and sees. It shows everybody like, hey, this is how you do it, and we're going to track it. And we're going to be super open about it, because in the sports betting community, people tend to be super closed off about it.
Yeah, right? No, it's my technique. I don't want nobody to use it.
Exactly. Like, it's my model. I can't really show anything. So I kind of flipped it on its head. And I was like, no, let's show people that I can spend a month watching YouTube videos and reading books and build one, at least a really simple one, and be super open about that. So maybe that's what Triv's referring to. So I built an NFL model that we unveiled this year, and we track it every week. So it spits out projections for every single game. There's a betting contest down at the Westgate called the Super Contest, where you enter and you get 5 picks every week, and the 5 best bets that the model gives us are what we're using for that contest as well. So it's something for people to track and to monitor throughout the football season as part of content. So that's what we're doing. I think that's probably what Triv is referring to.
Yeah, I think that's maybe what he's referring to.
And we call I came up with a funny name for it. My name's John Von Tobel, so I call it John Von Model. It's the name of the model. It's been very successful actually early on. But I think the success has more been, there's been a lot of feedback, and a lot of people really enjoy the process and really enjoy interacting with them and learning different things. So that's what I think maybe what Triv is referring to in terms of like at least a betting system or the different way that I bet, because this has been successful so far this year through at least, what are we at now, week 6 in the NFL? So,
yeah. I was going to say, with that, you kind of created like a community.
Yeah, that's what I'm about to say.
In an otherwise like area where, like you said, people are closed off about their betting.
Yeah. No, and that's why I like, there's a lot of negativity when it comes to social media, and especially in the gambling space where, about 5-6 years ago, whenever PASPA was struck down, it was a very, and it still is, a very niche community. And there's gatekeepers in every community.
Right.
But there's a lot of people in the sports betting space who feel like, hey, there's a lot of newcomers here that don't belong. This is our space. So it tends to get super negative really quickly. And so one of my things is that I try to do at the very least is, I want to have good content, but you want to create it in a way, like some of my favorite content creators in the sports space in general have been pretty open, somewhat nice with their community, feel like you can go back and forth with them, and are smart and know what they're talking about. And so I try to kind of establish that, at least when it comes to my interactions with people. And the models really generated that. One guy just yesterday, or was that today? Everything kind of melts together. But read the article and responded, was like, hey, have you ever considered this? And I was like, no, it's great. Like, I'll start to do that going forward. So little things like that, that's what I really enjoy.
Right. And that's beautiful. Like you said, you give people the opportunity to share their ideas. At the same time, it teach you something new, or maybe give you a mindset that you didn't think about at first.
Oh yeah, I'm big on always getting better.
Yes.
Right? Always want to, whatever you're kind of pursuing, even if it's only one step forward. You always want to try to get better at everything that you're doing.
Right.
But you only get better if you learn from people who know more than you do. There's always going to be someone. There's always a bigger fish, essentially. So I like to learn from people. That's kind of what I try to translate, at least sometimes, in the work that I do.
Right. No, and that's beautiful. And you actually just transitioned right into my next question I was going to ask you. Like, how do you get better, like I said, besides watching the people ahead of you? Like, what are the other things you do to get better in your industry?
So for me, it's almost, from a broadcasting standpoint, it is almost like sports in that you should watch film. Like, I watch myself. In broadcasting, it's almost the worst. You guys have your podcast. I don't know how often you go back and listen to it, but like when I listen to my stuff, there was a time where I hated the sound of my voice, and then you know what I mean? And then you get used to it, and then you listen to yourself, and you catch your little crutches, and you catch your little issues that you have. One of the things that I do a lot is when I transition to stuff, I say, all right. And it's one of those things that I catch and I try not to do.
Yes.
And even to the point where we'll be on live and I'll say it again. And when the camera cuts for me, I'll write the word all right in big letters on paper because I'm trying not to do that anymore.
Yeah.
So like those are the things that you try to get better at. Reading your writing and seeing where your mistakes are. There's tangible results. Can my betting record be better? Things like that. Yes, absolutely. But I think it's more about trying to be better in terms of communication, your entertainment. Did this segment work? Did it not? Why didn't it? Is it fun? Is it boring? Those are the things I think you take steps toward in terms of being more entertaining.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I can kind of like agree with that in my own field because I make music as well. Like I make beats, but literally after I'll make a beat and I spend a good decent amount of time on it. But after I finish, I listen to it over and over and over until I just nitpick like every little thing that I feel like I could improve on. Like maybe this transition could have been better. Or maybe I should have balanced this more. I could probably use this technique here just to make it sound a little bit cleaner to what I ultimately envision my music being at some point.
Right.
So I think there's great power in reflection, I should say.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
And it's hard to, I think sometimes we're blind to our own, shortcomings. So, it does take a lot of, reviewing your stuff and learning how to review yourself. Because sometimes you don't see, and shortcomings sounds pretty negative, but it's just that, your little mistakes and what you can improve on. That's why I do, as a writer, I do like having an editor, right? Because then you can sit there and say, hey, you made this mistake, you can do a little bit better at that. I'm big on, because I'm also big on, I like criticism. I don't really like a lot when people tell me what I'm doing right. I want to know what I'm doing wrong so you can get better. Because if you tell me what I'm doing right, well then, okay, right. I'm
cool.
doing
Keep
it right.
Doing it.
It's cool. I don't need to know that. We need to know how to get better. And so I'm really big on that in terms of self-criticism and looking to try to get better. Because, you can always try to get a little bit better. And that, I think that translates to life too, obviously.
100%.
Try to reflect as a father, try to be better, all those sort of things. Husband.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and I agree with that fully. I think a lot of people don't do that. Real talk, you should be reflecting at the end of every single day.
Yeah.
To see how your day went, to be like, okay, what did I do bad today that I could have improved on? Or what is something that I wish I should have did today that I kept pushing back and I told myself I wasn't going to push it back and I did it again. Yeah. So I agree with that. I think reflection is super magical. That is something I struggle with personally because I love my voice, but sometimes my speech is what gets me. And I'll be like, come on, Adrian, you keep slurring these words or, you keep stuttering. And it's like, oh my gosh. So that's what gets me. So how do you not beat yourself up with the criticism? What's your personal criticism?
It's hard. It's really hard. So I think one of my biggest weaknesses as a broadcaster is interviewing people. And so I will constantly actually, again, referring to today. So today at these media days, all it is interviews. It's just you're sitting at a table and all these college programs are coming over. Hey, do you want coach? Hey, do you want player A? Hey, do you want this? And you're interviewing these people. And so I'll put myself in position like, hey, you're bad at interviewing? Here's a situation where all you got to do is interview,
right?
And let's see how much better you can get,
right?
And it's one of those things where I've gotten to the point where when I hear the things that I don't like about myself when it comes to my job, I'll just kind of cringe a little bit, but then you kind of move past it, like, okay, well, you're doing this to try to get better
at this. So, exactly.
Right. So don't beat yourself up, because at the very least what you're doing right now is trying to take steps to get better at this.
Yes.
So I think that's kind of helped me out a lot in terms of not getting too down. Won't lie, there are days where, I do get down, and all of us do.
Yeah, we human.
I'm like, hey, you're not going to be any good at this, or this, you're not getting any better, or anything like that. But more often than not, I've done a pretty good job in kind of relaying the message to myself of, hey, no, you're doing this to try to get better, and so you shouldn't beat yourself up about it.
So even after, I believe you said you've been doing it for 7 years, you still get that feeling. I can get better.
Yeah, I as I think the cliche is right. You're always your own biggest critic, or however it goes. Like, that's it. I'm still to this day. I mean, it's not even 20 minutes ago, I asked a question, and in my head as the guy's answer, I'm like, that was a stupid question. But, especially with interviews, you're not looking for an answer, but you have an idea of where you think the answer is going to go.
Right.
And so when you ask a question and it doesn't go in that direction, you start thinking, okay, what did I get wrong? Was the information I was looking up, was that incorrect? Like little things like that. So no, to this day, I still do that. To this day, I watch myself and still try not to get down about certain things, because especially in a thing like journalism or sports or anything, there is no perfect. Right. You're like it's an everyday little experience that kind of changes on a day-to-day thing. So that really kind of helps you in that regard. It's not like math. Math is super binary. It's like, all right, this is the equation. If you don't have the answer, then you don't have the answer.
Right.
This is kind of a thing that changes. So I still get like that pretty regularly.
I was gonna say, because of the interesting nature of like doing interviews and like podcasting and stuff like that, and I'm pretty sure you felt this before too. It's like so when you're in the moment and you notice you mess up, does it kind of like distract you a little bit because it's kind of like ruminating in your head, but the show's still going forward? Does that ever distract you?
Yes. That happens. And then also this is the one thing that I've really had to get better at, because not only do you get distracted by, hey, you didn't ask the right question or whatever you're thinking. And then as you're thinking that, you're not listening.
Yeah.
So then, exactly. So then the conversation keeps going, and then you got to check back into the conversation mentally, and you don't know where you're at.
Yeah.
So then, okay, well, what am I going to ask next? Did he say something already? If I'm going to ask this question, so I definitely had to get better at that. And the other thing I really had to get a lot better at is as an interviewer, and maybe you guys run into this from time to time, you spend time thinking about what you're going to ask next.
Yes.
And if you spend too much time thinking about what you're going to ask next, again, you're in here and not present and listening, and then you don't. You're right. So that's one of the big battles. It's a pretty fascinating thing. Like, I never really thought about that from an interview standpoint.
Yeah.
And then when I started to go to school and really start to do it, like, you don't really understand. Like, it's kind of an art to interview people really well, to be present, to listen, to understand, to build on conversations. It's a really challenging thing.
No, it's beautiful you're saying that, because I'm doing that literally right now in this very moment. Like, I already have my next question going, and I'm trying not to forget it, but I need to hear everything you're saying, because like you said, if I'm not present right now, it's gonna sound like generic. It's gonna sound like you said all this stuff. Wow, that's great. So and it's like, wait, you didn't touch on anything he just touched on, like. And then a few moments ago, you said something. I put myself in those situations to grow. I was thinking, I do that for trivia, because I go, and I was thinking in my head, talking to myself, and I was like, stop, you're leaving the interview, bro. Like, it'll be a good point to add, but the topic is moved on and it's somewhere else now, so you don't need to go back to that topic. It's not that serious, So, no, I truly agree with you. I truly understand that issue.
Yeah, because I do that with like my day-to-day sometimes. Like, sometimes I tend to get like really socially anxious.
Yeah.
When at work, when I'm doing my job, it's easy. But when it comes to just like personal situation or going to the store or something like that, and somebody just randomly starts up a conversation, I'm like, I'm just so nervous and kind of thrown off guard because I didn't expect it. So now I'm in my head trying to listen to them, trying to keep a nice conversation going. But it's like, it's just like a whole bunch of back and forth. So I guess another leading question would be, how do you mentally get past that? Is that just something like, hey, you just have to keep practicing and like just focus on staying present, or is there like a certain method that you usually do specifically?
No, I think I just try to focus. They have no real like big method on it because I'm a big thinker. Like I like to think a lot, and that does get distracting too because you're stuck in your head. And it's amazing that even though you're there, how much you don't retain if you don't listen. It's crazy. Even though it is going in your ear, it's not making it all the way up here. So no, it's just been one of those where like there will be times where I'll find myself thinking, and kind of like what you were talking about, right, with like the trivia, like when you're thinking to yourself, I'm like, no, hey, John, snap back. You got to listen to what they're saying. Right. And I think it's more about internal communication with myself, like, hey, you're doing this, stop doing it, focus, listen. And that's, I think, one of the things that I've gotten a little bit better at is just kind of bringing myself back to the present moment, because that would be a big distraction, because then there's times where, especially when you're working with a partner, where I'm just like wave them off, like, no, I don't want to ask the next question because I don't know where the conversation's at. You never really want to do that. So I don't really have a good, like, super good method for it, but it's just more about internal communication. Like, don't, hey, focus, snap back. Like, you're in the middle of an interview right now. Right.
And then something for me that also works too is, like you say, you snap back. I think I try to like hold the presence that I'm in. Realize like, okay, I'm in a moment right now. I can't do nothing about anything else right now but this. So let me do the best I can at this moment right now. Because me worrying about work tomorrow, I can't do nothing about that, Yep. But I can mess up my podcast worrying about work tomorrow. So let me focus on my podcast and let work go. Yeah. So I think that's like something that I always learn playing basketball for sure. Yeah. You in the game, it's game time. Everything else can go. Don't worry about your bills. Don't worry about nothing, because right now you're in this game for 40 minutes. Let's get it.
And I try to replicate that feeling from like playing sports or being in an orchestra or something like that. Because like, especially when you're just in the moment, it's just, I don't know, it's just like such a magical experience of like being so engrossed in what you're doing that like everything just kind of flows together. Even if you're kind of tripping sometimes too or something like that. Like I remember in orchestra we would be playing like in a competition, and it's like maybe I messed up slightly on a note or something like that, and it's like, ooh, I messed up. But then it's just,
if you think about the mess up,
if I think about the mess up, I fall out. But it's like, well, the music's still gonna go, time is still ticking. So it's like, yeah, I messed up, but then okay, let's
flow back in. Yeah.
And then you're just, I don't know, it's just like a beautiful thing, especially when everything goes well.
Sure, and that's why I like the live aspect of what I do a lot. I do live radio, I do live television. It's, if you mess up, it's like, no, we're still going. So let's, you don't have time to really sit there and think on it. Because if you sit there and think on it, then it's going to ruin the whole thing. So that's why I like the quick nature of being live. It's just like, nope, if you messed up, you messed up. You move on from it and you keep going. And then you can go back and review it if you want to, like we talked about. So I like that, we think about being in the moment more like sports, but it's really an everyday kind of thing, whatever your profession is, whatever you're passionate about.
Right. So with that right there being said, you're going live, because like I said, you do a lot of live. We're about to have our first live show right now. Cool. What would some advice be for somebody that's about to perform their first live show?
So it's different. Are you going to do it in front of people?
Yes. So our goal is to, I hate to use this term, but make it look like an Oprah show. So I want people to come in, sit down, have seats. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And then at some point we want to say, anybody in the audience have a question? Yeah. And let them be able to stand up, ask their question, and be involved with the interview as well.
So I'll be honest, I've actually, I do it live, but I've never done it live in front of an audience, right? We do remotes for ESPN Vegas, so you do your radio show at like a sports bar or wherever, and so people can come up and they can listen to the show and everything like that. But I'm lucky enough that while you're doing it live, it's in just this vacuum of a room. It's a studio, so you know that you're live, you know that you're talking to people, but at the end of the day, it is really nice to just kind of be in a room with the your co-host or your producer. Yep, exactly. And so I guess in that regard, you have an audience that you want to play to, but it would just be to focus on the moment and your co-host and know that yep, we're live. Like, let's just do this thing and do what you usually do. People are there to watch you for a reason, right? They enjoyed what you've done up to this point. So why change what you've done up to this point just because you're in front of them? They're there for what you've done before that. So
beautiful.
I think that'd be it.
I love that. And then follow-up question with that. So like you said, whether it's any type of live, are there any pre-preps that you like to do before you go on live?
So I'm a big, I like to take notes. One of the things that I've run into is because I am big on preparation. One of the things that I had to change about preparation, though, was that I would over-prepare. Mm-hmm. And you always want to be over-prepared in that if something goes wrong, in our business, if a guest, for example, you have them scheduled for a 3:20 hit, they don't pick up their phone, you want to have something ready just in case they're not going to be there.
Right. Better have it and not need it than you did not have it.
Correct. Yeah. But when I say over prep, I'd be like, I would take notes that were too detailed. And so I would try to fit everything in, or it would end up me like reading off of a piece of paper or anything like that. So it's this fine balance between getting ready but not over ready, because then you're sitting there just kind of reading off of a screen, and you know what I mean. It's not coming off as natural and organic. So preparing, but also mentally retaining all the stuff that you're preparing for, so you can have your notes and whatnot and whatever you want to talk about, but not being so reliant on those that you're constantly like looking down or doing those sort of things. I think it's a big thing that I've had to kind of strike a balance on.
I was gonna say it's kind of like a balance between not procrastinating and procrastinating.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Because I noticed in school, whenever I had to do like a presentation or something, I always did the best when I wasn't as prepared from what the teacher told us to be.
Yeah.
Because then you just start to flow off of other energy and things like that. And in a sense, it brings you more present to the moment and doing what you need to do.
Yep.
And that way, it's like you get to show more of your personality at that instead of just the assignment that you did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, exactly. So, and that's what I love about it. Like, two things. I do exactly what you do, what you're saying right now. I try not to over-prepare. So, like, for example, when Triv said he wasn't coming, I was like, okay, so I have to figure out what you look like. I had to go through your IG. I went through your Twitter and stuff just to see what the things you're talking about, what you do. Ask Triv a little bit about you. But I also had the thought of, I didn't write no questions down because I wanted you to get here first, and we have our little pre-show discussion just about what you do in life. Mm-hmm. And then from there, based off your personality, now I can come up with my questions that are going to be more authentic for you, that I feel. And then on top of that, I have questions here that I wrote down I'm sure I'm not going to ask, but just to have them, just in case, because we did have somebody that came in one time and, okay, so tell me how you got into it. By working.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, okay, next question. And it's
like, that's tough. That's when the subject, that's a whole nother thing. When the subject's not really a talker.
Yeah.
And doing a lot of covering collegiate athletics, there's some college players that are just like one word, like that's it, and it's tough. It's like pulling teeth sometimes.
Yes.
And you're like 20 questions in, but you've covered like 10 minutes worth of stuff because they're not giving you anything.
And definitely it's like you thought those 20 questions was going to take up 40 minutes. And nah, gone.
Yeah, that's why I try. Being a broadcaster helps. So I'm talkative and I can talk a bit, but you also try to because you want to give them something. Because I've been there where I'm just like, man, can you give me more than 3 words on what we're talking about? Expand on that.
Right. How does that make you feel on the inside? Right. Like, did you cry about it last night? Give me something. Like, I feel that. So another question for you. Content creating. Like you said, I know you do create a lot of content. How do you continue to stay fresh with your content?
So I think it's about kind of challenging yourself a bit. Like going back to the model that we talked about. Yeah, I've never been a model before. I didn't even know where to start. And so like kind of that new fresh content comes from kind of challenging yourself to step out of your bounds. Because if you want new content, you want something different. You want something a little fresh. So I think that's kind of where I've come from, which is at first it's kind of staying in the box of sports. And then I thought, well, no, like make yourself unique to a certain extent. And how do you do that? By doing this and that. So that's how I do it is, you want to, because it's a learning opportunity as well. And it's actually, for me, it's really cool because you don't know what happens. So for example, I enjoyed doing this model so much that I'm back at school. Like I went to school for math. I wanted to pursue a bachelor's degree in math. Like I I've liked doing this so much, and I've enjoyed diving into the world of statistics and probabilities and all that kind of stuff that I want to learn more about it.
Right.
So not only did that, stepping out of my box, create content that is new and fresh that people really enjoy, but it's also led to something that might change my life a little bit, right? Yeah. You never know what's going to come out of something like that, like going back to school. So that's how I've done it. It's stepping out of the box and trying different things. Well, for example, I mentioned to you guys our NBA guide that we write every single year. That came from me looking around and going, there's a lot of, when you go to the bookstores and you get like the Lindy's, like, football preseason magazine for fantasy football and then for the season, or, baseball, or there's a great college basketball guide like that. It's called the Blue Ribbon Book. But I looked around and I was like, I don't really see many NBA ones. There's not that many, and I enjoy the NBA. So I called my boss. I was like, hey, what if I wrote this? Like, what if I gave you, about a 40-page, like, kind of preview of the NBA season? Would you guys want that? I was like, sure, why not? So, I stepped out of my box that time. I was like, let's try this. It's the most writing I'd ever done outside of, like, papers and stuff. And putting your thoughts and your content and what you think is going to happen out there is kind of stepping out on the ledge. But people really enjoyed it. So that, I think, is the number one step. It's stepping out and saying, okay, what can you do? Because, good content is different content. If you don't want the same things from like the same different people, what we all enjoy is going to be a little bit different. And so that's kind of what I think is like the primary step is, evolving a little bit and stepping out of your bounds and making good content is the way to go. You want to do things a little differently than you usually do it.
Right. And then when you step out that box, you start to find things about yourself that you weren't aware of.
Yeah.
Like you said, the idea of going back to school to do something like math is mind-blowing to me right now, but if it turns you on and that's what floats your boat, then let's go do it.
It's something mind-blowing to like if you would have told me and like when I was 11th grade, like, hey, no, you're gonna go back to school, you like math, like, no, what? Like, no, that sounds terrible.
What kind of genie are you?
Yep. So no, it is cool. It's cool when you learn little things about yourself that you didn't really know that you would enjoy.
Yeah,
it could be as simple as trying new food. It could be as complex as building a statistical math model and it's going down that path.
Yeah, no, and that's 100%. So like that's how I feel. I've been falling in love with words recently. I do trivia. I host trivia on Tuesday night at this bar called Taps and Barrels. And the reason I signed up for it was to practice my public speaking. And I actually got to read the questions out loud on a microphone. Yeah. So one, I hate reading out loud. In class, when reading out loud came, I put my head down, put the book over my face, make sure, like, don't call my name. Now I'm volunteering to do it every week, But as I'm doing it and I'm seeing all these new words, I'm like, what word is that? What does that mean? And I start Googling words. I'm like, oh, that's another word for this. That's another word for that. Okay. And so now I'm going to try to, my goal is to expand my vocabulary more.
Absolutely.
So I can start to just, sound a little more intelligent, more proper, sound like a better host, things like that. Yep. So I love it. I was going to
say that was the reason why I started going. I just recently started going back to school as well because I dropped out after 2 years going to UNR because I was doing computer science and I'm a real technical savvy type of person and I just like concrete answers.
Yeah.
Put one in, get one out. Mm-hmm. But like I said before, I have social anxiety and stuff like that. But I'm going back to school for psychology to become a therapist because for some reason people just telling me their life stories even though I just met them, or my friends always ask for advice and I give pretty sound advice, and I always kind of get some feedback from that too. So I was like, might as well just try and go be a therapist. Psychology's interesting. I don't like reading, I don't like doing papers, but I'm finally at a place now where this type of topic kind of interests me, and I want to pursue it to be able to do what I do best, or do what I like to do best, which is help people at the end of the day. Right. So that's the reason why I went back. Yep. Yeah.
I love it. That's beautiful, bro. That's beautiful. So another question for you, Mr. John. It just slipped. Okay, sorry.
When that happens.
Yeah, I got it now though. So what do you do to keep yourself motivated to continue to do all this stuff? Like you said, you work every single day. You got a main job, a part-time, 7 days a week. You got to make sure you keep your wife happy. What keeps you motivated besides the amazing money I'm sure you're bringing in?
Yeah, I don't know about amazing money. There's a couple of things. So the good and the cheesy answer, which is absolutely true, is my family. I want to take care of my boys. I want to take care of my wife. I want to make sure that they're okay. Mm-hmm. And so that's it's so weird. I always tell my wife this when I was a kid. You have those odd fears one of my weird fears growing up is I never wanted to be homeless.
Yeah.
You know, it was one of those things that kind of freaked me out. Like, I was like, what's a job? How do you do those sort of things? And so kind of working a lot has always been, I've had a ton of different jobs. Like, I started working in Albertsons. I was a telemarketer. I delivered bounce houses. I worked at Starbucks. I did a lot of different things. So working's kind of always been my thing. But now that I've got my boys and my family, that's my primary motivation, to make sure they're always okay. And so working hard, you know, is that. So I don't mind working like 2 or 3 jobs or doing all those sort of things, because they are my motivation. And I'll say this too. I mean, because there is ego involved. Like, there is a part of me that I want to be the best. You know, I want to be the best at my craft. You know, it's so cool seeing people in media that 10 years ago I was looking up to them and consuming their content, and now I can look at them face to face as colleagues. It's, you know, Brent Musburger, for example. You know, Brent Musburger, a longtime college football play-by-play guy who, when I got hired here at VSiN, I was hired to be his producer. Now I'm an on-air host, and you know, I walk in and it's, hey, Jonathan, what do you got today? What's going on? What's on the show? You know, things like that. You know, there is an ego in it where, and it's not, I hope at least, it's not an ego where it's cockiness. It's just motivation to just be like, hey, I want to be good at this. You know,
confidence to strive for that.
I want to be good. You know, it's not one of those, I want to be remembered. No, I want to be good at this. You know, I'm pursuing this, I'm doing this, and I want to look back at the very least and say, you know, to my boys or whatever, and tell them, hey, look, in whatever you want to do, you know, you work hard, you can be really good at it. And that's kind of like, it all kind of ties together. So, you know, taking care of my family, but there is that small ego where, you know, it's a little bit, I didn't play high level sports, but I did play, I like sports and play it, and there's that motivation. It's just like, no, I want to be good. I want to be good. I want to be the good, you know, arguably the best at what I do, and that's a big motivation for it, you know?
Exactly. No, and I truly understand that. Like, I want the team to win, of course, but I still want my touchdown pass. You know, and I truly understand that. Like, and I don't think that's selfish at all. That's just wanting more for yourself. That's like a personal goal, because that's how I feel about this. I want to be the best podcaster I can be. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, my goal isn't to be a Jeff Rogan or, you know, Joe Rogan and up there with the Breakfast Club and Drink Champs and all that. I don't care about being that big, but I do want to transform my city in some way possible. To know that this is the podcaster for Las Vegas. You want to learn about Las Vegas, or you want to motivate people in Las Vegas, you need that motivation, this is where you need to be at. Just keep swimming.
Yeah.
You know, so I love that.
And I can concur with that too, and with the podcast side, but also I like how you were talking about how you looked up to certain people, and then now you're speaking to them as colleagues. Like, I just find it fascinating and just curious on, like, I want to get to that point to where I work with other artists or other people in the psychological community and see how human they actually are. Because it's like, we always over glorify these people because they're famous, especially social media makes it way more like worse in a sense in terms of that perception. But like, yo, these people are just people just like you and me. Like, I just want to be able to feel that and then be able to relate that to everybody that probably perceives themselves lower than I am or will be. And like, hey, I'm flesh and blood just like you're flesh and blood. Just do what you do, find what you want to do, and get to where you want to go. We're all human at the end of the day.
Yeah, that was one of the big breakthroughs for me when it came, like, going back to the interview stuff. It was that, you know, when you talk to people for the first time that at one point you did look up to, and it's kind of like you said, you build them up to a certain extent because there's somebody you followed, you enjoyed their content, whatever it was, and then you kind of take that step back. You're like, no, man, like, this dude's probably in a bad mood on the way in. Like, she was probably constipated just like you were last week or something like that. You know, like, we're all people. So if you take that step and you breathe for a second, it's kind of a weird and crazy feeling for a lot of. There's been a couple of people that I've sat there and actually find out too, like, man, you're kind of a jerk. You know, like things like that. One of the big ones for me was. You know, I cover the NBA, so I get to go to Summer League every summer. And so I've gotten to meet so many different NBA people, whether it's like behind front office people or media members or anything like that. And I come at that every summer going, man, some of these guys are jerks. Like, I like, it's not even nervous anymore. It's just like, man, I don't even like being around some of you guys sometimes. So no, it's a cool experience, and it's a really kind of weird experience too when you kind of get to that point where you cross back and you're just like, oh wait, no, these are all people just like you and me, and some of them are really cool and they become friends, and some of them are just professional, co-workers and things like that. But it's definitely a different experience when you get to that point.
Yep. No, and I truly agree with that one because I knew a few famous athletes for sure. We did Brandon Marshall's podcast. Go back and check out this episode. But same thing. We went to B. Marsh house. He opened the door in slippers, and he offers us water, and then he couldn't find stuff in his house. Babe, where's the cord at for the? And we over here but he's just like a normal human being. Like he has a Super Bowl ring. He has a big Super Bowl ring on his finger, but this is the most normal guy I ever met in my life. Yep. So humble, so respectful. We doing community service events. He still shows up, and it's like a Super Bowl winner is showing up to get a freaking $10 barbecue dinner. Yep. Well, I'm here to support you guys. It's like, okay, that's human. That's human right there.
I was gonna say because I think you remember phase 1, right? Because when Dad would make me do it, we had to do like a couple practices out in the field, or training on the field. And he showed up one day, and he's training with high schoolers, some middle schoolers. You got other pro athletes. You just got people that's just trying to get fit, and we're all working out in the same vicinity. And he's just a normal
guy working. Yeah. He's just a normal guy trying to get it like everybody else. Like, yes, he's maybe a little more talented in a different area, but at the same time, like they always say, they put the pants on the same way that you do. And none of them flip their cleats in the air and automatically tied on their foot. Like they had to tie their shoes like you did. So it's like they're humans just like you. They need water. If they take an X-ray, y'all skeletons gonna look the same.
That's what I tell my wife all the time. We're all gonna be dust in 300 years, so might as well treat each other the same way.
Exactly. I'm gonna be grass at some point, so I might as well be nice to everybody. I love it, man. I love it. So cool. So we're gonna start going to our end game a little bit, and I have a few end game questions for you. So my first question would be is, like you said, you're a busy man. How do you find the work-life balance?
I think that's one thing that I should probably do better. I think it definitely skews more toward work, and I've tried to do a lot more. For example, this last, how long has he been doing this now? For like 6 months or so. My oldest son, Diego, he's 5. He started doing soccer about 6 months ago.
Okay.
So I cleared out Wednesdays. Like Wednesday afternoon, sorry, I can't work ESPN Vegas. I don't do interviews afterwards. Like Diego's got soccer, I want to be there. I want to be there for him. He likes it when I'm there. Obviously, you want to do that. So that's something that I've really kind of committed to, trying to get more into that balance because, I am the only one that works in our family for now. My wife's going to school to be a teacher, but she's also at home with our boys, outside, our youngest boy, because Diego's kind of in school right now. So, that's one thing that I do got to get better at, which is trying to find some balance. And it's not even just family time. My wife tells me all the time, finding balance for myself. You got this PlayStation 5. I got one too. There's games, I'll buy a game and I'll tell my wife, I'm like, I don't know why I bought this. I'm not going to be able to play it for 3 months. I don't know or I'll fire it up for like 30 minutes and I'll fall asleep like an old man on the couch because I'm so tired because I'm doing so much stuff. So I think that's something, because the way you asked it, how do you find work-life balance? I would honestly answer that I don't think I've found that yet. And that is something that I am striving to kind of get better at, especially when it comes to my wife and my kids. Because, my dad, it was never a big negative, but I do remind myself of my dad. My dad's worked all the time. My dad traveled for work, always sitting at his desk. And it's funny, like how life kind of goes full circle. Yeah. I remember as a kid going up to my dad at his desk with his 2 monitors, always working. And my son now comes up to me all the time with my 2 monitors, and I'm always working. And and that's kind of the thing. So that is one thing I definitely got to get a lot better at, is finding that balance with my work and my life. Because I think that's one thing. If I look back, I don't want to regret that, right? Like spending too much time working.
Right.
You took care of your family, but to what extent and what did you miss out on?
Right, exactly. And that's something I always heard too. It's like, okay, cool, you was able to give them, all the clothes and everything they need, but what they really need was just that love and your presence and say, I see you, son. I see you out there playing the game right now. Yeah. Good kick. Yeah. And that's more inspiring than any video game, TV, shoes you can buy them. You know? So I love that.
My kid asks me all the time, like, why you got to work so much? I'm like, well, we gotta. We got to take care of things. We got to make sure we got a roof over our head and stuff. But every once in a while when he does ask me that, it does kind of hit me in the back of the head, like, you don't have to spend this hour tonight, doing some extra, getting ahead on that article or doing something like that. Like, you can sit with him and you can watch Pokemon for 30 minutes with the kid or do whatever he wants to do, play ball. So that's something I definitely strive to get better at for sure.
All right.
I was going to just say that story just reminds me of me with my mom, because what was it? Right, probably after like the first 2 years at the house we're at now. She was working graveyard, remember?
Yeah.
And my dad's gone during the day, and then my mom's just sleep. Mom gone
sleep
during
the day.
Yeah, sleep during the day, and I'm like, yo, where are y'all at?
Yeah.
Like, I want to hang out with y'all, and then she eventually switched her work shift to just spend more time with family, and I feel like that was just, while we had everything covered from, food and clothes for school and, doing sports and stuff like that, I felt like we missed out on a lot of, like, intimate time as a family.
Yeah.
Which kind of, we didn't get to address until, like, a couple of years ago.
Right.
I always make the joke, my wife and I kind of laugh about it, it's probably not that healthy, but, like, we make the joke that my son does not know that I sleep. Because I put him to bed, and I wake up usually about 4 or 5 every morning. So I put him to sleep, and when he wakes up, I'm awake. So like he never really knows that we joke all the time that he doesn't really know that I sleep because I'm just always awake every time for him. So It's kind of with that balance, and that's one of the things too. Is I've had to. Like, get some sleep, man. My wife tells me all the time, hey, just come lay down, just go to bed, and finding that balance. And of course, my relationship with my wife and finding that balance with each other and wanting to go out and do stuff with one another. And that's something I really strive to get a lot better at for sure.
Right. Yeah. No, and that's gonna be a journey for sure.
Yep.
And I think it sounds like you're already on the way though, because you got some of the other stuff mastered. At some point, I'm sure you're gonna have the option to be like, okay, what don't I need to do no more?
Yeah.
Or what can I pass on so I can trade this now for my family and spend more time with them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So,
and the first step was already being aware of that.
Exactly. That's step one, being aware.
Yeah.
So you are showing that you're aware of it. They know that you're aware of it. So it's going to be progress for sure.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that. So one of my second questions for you for the end is how much does confidence come into play with what you do?
Oh, I think it's big. I think it's really big. And it's weird because I think I come across as confident, but there's a lot of the times where I'm not. But we make the joke all the time. Like a lot of the times, especially with broadcasting, if you sound like you know what you're talking about, people kind of buy it, right? But confidence is big, and especially when it comes to at least my field of work, which is it's very opinion based. You're putting your thoughts out there. You've got to be confident in your thoughts, and I think confidence does come from preparation, from studying. You can tell when somebody is being fake confident because they're nervous, and then fake confident where they weren't really prepped and they're just kind of talking out of their ass, and not really being genuine. And I think that's where confidence and being confident and being genuine kind of go together for me.
Right.
My confidence stems from the fact that I know who I am. And I know that what I've done to prepare for whatever we're doing or anything like that. And so I think I come across as confident at times because I just feel good. Like, hey, no, like I prepared for this, I'm ready for this. And thus the confidence kind of bleeds out through some of the broadcasting and stuff like that. But I would say it's very big. You can't be sheepish. You can't be timid because people want to listen to bombastic personalities that have some flair to them and some entertainment to them, and as well as some knowledge to them. So I think it's a really big part.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't trust a sportscaster giving bet advice with a shaky voice, and I think I wouldn't trust that. So it's
exactly.
Like that makes sense.
I was gonna say, I just love the combination that you brought up between the confidence and being genuine. Because like again, you can prepare and stuff like that, but without that genuine aspect, like the confidence kind of falters off, or it kind of inflates it to where somebody just has like an ego that they're just not listening to somebody else, or not caring about what other people think. And it's like you can still be strong in your opinion, but still just be open to like, hey, like I care about what you think. This is my side, and I'm standing on it. But hey,
I want to hear what you got.
What do you have to say?
Yeah, and that's the art of what we do too. I know a lot of the popular sports angles are kind of like the debate television, right? Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless and doing all those sort of things. That's debate for debate's sake. I like talking and then listening to other aspects and having your two sides, but being able to discuss those differences while also having a civil conversation about that. And that's just sports, obviously. That devolves into much more important topics throughout the world. But that's kind of what I look at it through. So being genuine is very important. One of the things that I tell a lot of people too is, 3 words that have really helped me a lot in my career is I don't know. If I don't know it, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like I never want to pretend. I promise you that if I don't know it, I'm gonna try my best to find out and then eventually know it. But I've never. One of the things I've always prided myself on is I've never been afraid to tell somebody that I don't know something.
Right.
And I think that speaks to the genuineness of it. And going back to even confidence, you have to be confident to tell somebody you don't know something.
Exactly.
Like there's confidence in being willing to admit that you don't know the answer to whatever you're talking about. And that's really helped me out a lot.
Exactly. No, and that's real. It takes a lot of courage to truly be yourself and let somebody know that I'm not as knowledgeable as you think I am.
Yeah.
I have to grow. It's respected, and I feel you respect it more than saying, "Oh, I know," and you just throw out some fluff, and it's like, "Well, I major in this, and you're all the way off."
That's cap.
That's a lie.
And that's honestly, that's one of my biggest, I guess not fears, but I would hate to be in the position, right? You know, talking with you guys, about if we're talking music production, and I just started rattling off some bull, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm talking about. You can immediately call me out on that. I would hate to be in that position, and it's a good learning opportunity. If you don't know something, then you can learn. It goes back to what I've always talked about is trying to get better. My philosophies kind of tie into one another. And that's it's a big one for me.
Right. No, I love it, and that's exactly what I'm doing right now. I ain't know much about you at all, but just sitting here listening to you talk. One, I'm like, dang, we have a lot in common, and I guess I'm probably on the right path for being a broadcaster at some point. Because we have a lot of similarities. It's genuine. I love to be 100% genuine. One lady wanted me to go to a job interview live the other day, and I was like, I'm not going to a job interview live. What the hell I look like? I won't even feel right walking into the place knowing I'm about to lie to somebody. So I'm not going to do it. But yeah, no, I'm loving everything you're saying, and just sitting here with an open mind and hearing everything you're coming from. Even if it's from a different aspect, the sports aspect of it, it relates so back to so many other aspects in life that I'm loving right now.
Yeah,
so I think it's beautiful, bro. I think it's beautiful. So we always have 2 questions that we like to end with every single show. So you're on the Just Keep Swimming podcast, and we always like to ask our guests, where are you still swimming to in life?
Let's see. Yeah, that's an interesting point. I think I'm always swimming to try to be first and foremost, I think about being a good dad, and a good father. Because I don't think you ever get there, right? Whenever I leave, there's never an end point. So whenever I leave this earth, you're always, I think, kind of striving to be a really good father figure, and that extends to being a good husband too. So I think I'm always swimming there, and kind of tying to what we talked about with the whole ego thing is, I think I'm just kind of swimming to try to be the best at what I'm doing here, and I think that's just kind of being the best me, and wherever that takes me to eventually be in there, then maybe I'll get there. But I think that's where I'm going. It's just being the best dad I can be and just being the best me, and whatever that path takes me, I'm down for it, because I know at the very least I'm swimming as hard as I can, in the direction that I want to get to. So.
Right, beautiful. And I love that last part. I'm swimming as hard as I can. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if that island's gonna be exactly what I think it is. Yep. It looks like bananas right now, but it may be coconuts when I get there. But I'm still gonna get to that bad boy though. So I love it. And then the second question we always ask everybody before they leave is there a quote you'd like to leave us with? I should have told Triv to pre-prep you for that, so that's my fault. But I didn't know if you had a quote or anything you'd like to share with the people out there listening to that.
There's not much. I read, but it's more like sports stuff and everything like that. I'll go with something recent that people might have seen already, but I actually really liked it and it stuck with me. Did you guys watch the quarterback series on Netflix?
No, I haven't watched it yet.
So Kirk Cousins had a really good quote from Margaret Thatcher that I'd never thought of. It was really cool. But it was something along the lines of, if my critics saw me walk on water, they would say it's because I don't know how to swim.
That's crazy.
Right, and it's really cool because you think about it, you're like, wow, you did. That's kind of wild if you really think about it, because it's true. There's going to be people that no matter what are going to try to cut you down.
Yeah.
And especially when it comes to a forward-facing industry like broadcasting, and things like that. You could do, like we've talked about, I've tried to be genuine, I've tried to be me. And for some people, it's so weird how we all perceive things differently. And there's some people who perceive me to be a very arrogant person, and I don't understand that, but that's going to happen. And so it kind of speaks to that is, sometimes your critics are just going to find ways to kind of cut you down. but you just kind of keep going. You know, if you're legitimately being genuine, then eventually like those negative voices and those critics aren't really going to matter. So it's not a super original one because I saw it on Netflix series a couple of weeks back, but that one stuck out to me that I saw recently.
No, that's a perfect one because it always takes me back to I don't know if you heard the story about the positive farmer and the negative farmer. So there's a positive farmer and a negative farmer. The positive farmer walks outside and says, "Oh my gosh, it's such a lovely day, such a lovely sunny day." And the negative farmer walks outside like, "Yeah, but if the sun keeps up, it's gonna burn the leaves." And then so next day it's raining. The positive farmer outside, "Oh my gosh, thank you for this rain to water our plants. But if it rains too hard, it's gonna drown everything." So then the farmers go, and I think that's where the line came from. The farmers go hunting. The positive farmer is like, "Hey, check out this new dog I got." Shoots the bird out the air. The dog runs on the water, grabs the bird, runs back on the water, and brings the bird back. And then the negative farmer say, "I knew it. The dog can't swim."
Yeah.
And it's like, man, he's walking on water. Yeah. He's literally walking on water, and you mad that he can't swim? Like, why is he walking? Why do you need to swim for? Like, but I understand that there's always gonna be some negative Nancy's, always gonna be a hater, always gonna be critics. Somebody's gonna get you down, but keep doing what you're doing because the people that are for you will find you.
Yep.
And they'll gravitate to you naturally, and those gonna be the people that they're gonna keep you going, keep you flowing.
And at least you moving in the first place.
Yep.
Yeah. Exactly. I'd rather be moving than sitting back over there just still talking.
Absolutely.
You know, because at some point I ain't gonna be able to hear you no more.
Right.
I love it, man. I love it. So, Mr. John, thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate you coming out here, sharing your story, sharing your experience. Shout out to Tease Mac for setting up this interview. I really enjoyed it more personally because I do want to get to the point where my voice is out there. You know what I'm saying? I would love to be a radio host. I keep signing up for iHeartRadio because they keep having job position. I'm like, man, hire me. Like, I'm about to walk to y'all door, knock on the front door at one point. But yeah, so I loved it. I took some great mental notes for sure. I feel like I'm doing some good stuff with my live things, but at the same time, I still do need to practice more interview ideas and keep my mind open during the interview. So yes, appreciate all the tips today. If you didn't help anybody today, you helped me for sure. So I appreciate you so much.
Yes. Your mindset's beautiful, bro. I appreciate you for where you are and just coming on and sharing your time with us in the first place.
Yes, real talk. Because like right now, like, you know, your part is like I'm just on a podcast, but my mindset is I have a ESPN announcer on my podcast right now that does ESPN and college football and writes NBA books. Like, yeah, you're not a little guest in my eyes at all, man. So I appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate it because, for me, every time somebody wants to do something like this with me, I'm like, why me? You know, I don't really, you know, I don't view myself as anything not worth it, but you know, I don't. There's every once in a while, you know, like people like you are nice enough to want to talk to me, or there's been twice where somebody's come up like, can I take a picture? I'm like, me? Like, are you sure? Like, it's not like, but so it's really humbling to, you know, to talk to people and to get that positive feedback. So I appreciate it.
Yeah. Of course.
No, yeah, appreciate it, man. Like I said, I'm glad you came and shared your story. You helped somebody for sure. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks,
thank you for going. Would you like to share your podcast and information you'd like the people to find you on?
Sure. I'm big on Twitter, or I guess it's X now, at MeJVT. If you want to come give me a follow, say what's up. I try to respond to everybody, and you know, if you're nice enough to take time out of your day to say hi to me or whatever, then I'll respond. So yeah, at MeJVT. And Harvard Handicappers is the NBA podcast, and you can just find anywhere else at ESPN Las Vegas or at VSIN, VSIN.
Got you. And then, as you already know, all the information is going to be in the bio, so make sure you guys check it out there. And with that being said, I just want to say thank you so much again, John, for joining us. Appreciate you so much. Bros, thank you for another great episode.
Yes,
the beat in the background was fire as always.
Appreciate it.
Yes, make a new project coming soon?
Still working on it. Yeah, still working on it, but it'll come out eventually. I just need more life to go through. I like producing something that means something rather than just putting stuff out there.
You're producing an experience, not just a sound.
Exactly.
I love
experience and atmosphere, bro.
I love it. And then everybody out there listening today, hope you guys learned something today. Enjoy the episode. If you haven't signed up for your Audible book yet, it's still available, still out there. Get you one free month of knowledge. You know what I'm saying? We're giving out free books. You can't beat that. So make sure you get your Audible book. Also, be ready for the Just Keep Swimming Campfire Halloween special on October 27th. Yep, doors open at 7 o'clock. We're going to have some vendors there. We're going to have a raffle going on. We're going to have Just Keep Swimming merch going on, as well as a great show with the opportunity for the audience to come and engage, whether you're in person or on IG. So please come and check it out. We would truly appreciate you guys and love to see you guys in person for once. And you get to meet us in person for once. Come take a picture with your boy. With all that being said, I hope everybody had a wonderful day, a marvelous afternoon, a splendid evening. And remember to just keep swimming. Gotta say it one time.
Just keep swimming.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.